There are two things that I've never done in fishing. One of them is to catch a perch over £2, and the other one is to catch a fish on frozen seafood. And today I'm going to try and do both those things. Well, at the time of filming, it is actually right at the end of December. Now, the reason why I've chosen to film this right here today, at this time of year, is purely because the lakes behind me are full of carp, and we don't really want to go getting pestered with carp, and so they're a little bit obviously less active now. So I'm hoping we're not going to be hooking too many of those, so that we can hopefully single out those big perch. And the other reason is that this lake here that I'm fishing is actually going to be netted and completely drained in 10 days' time. So this is my last opportunity to target these big perch on this lake in its current state. Now, I've decided to use the pole today to target these fish. I'm going to fish it really simply. I've got just one rig set up, but I've plumbed that up so I can fish in two different spots, which I'll show you. And I'm going to feed one bait to one side and another bait to the other, where we're obviously going to be able to cover our options, but I'll talk you through all that. I'll show you the plumbing up and show you, more importantly, the types of baits that I'm going to be using and how I'm going to feed them. So I've set up, I'm actually 4 pegs out of this corner, so I don't want to be tucked into that corner too much. I've just gone through my rigs in here, and to be fair, I've got silverfish rigs that I'm still compiling for this winter, and I've got a load of carp rigs there, and I've got to be absolutely honest that I'm actually going to be using one of the carp rigs. It's just something that's left over from a match that I fished on a commercial last summer. So I'm going to show you the rig and everything in a minute, but I'm just going to show you how I've plumbed up and everything. So I've just got one rig set up. I'm going to keep it super simple today. I'm just going to clip a plummet on there, and I don't want to go out too far because obviously that wind is quite strong. So what I've basically got is, that's a top kit. It's got number 12 slick in there. Oh, it's the orange slick, and I'm on section number 6. And I'm just going to fish at that length, so it's section number 6, and I've got 2 lines actually at that same range. So my first line is just there, and it's bang in the middle of those 2 platforms, and that is set so that there's literally about that much of the float above the surface. I'm probably going to go a tiny little bit shallow. I don't want to lay on too much, and I've also found a spot that's in line with that platform there, and that should be exactly the same. Yeah, exactly the same depth. And it's quite flat there as well. You know, I've had a good plumb round with the plummet, and it's really quite level. So what I'm going to do is I'm basically going to feed the seafood, the prawn, to one side, and at the other side, just to cover our options and be a little bit less selective, I'm going to feed chopped worm and caster. Obviously 2 key baits that we know perch love. And that is it. We're going to keep it really nice and simple. I'm going to big pot in, so in other words, I'm not going to be fishing with like a toss pot or a pole pot and keep dripping bits of bait in. I'll just use a 150ml pole cup and just cup in and fish it out, and obviously I can rotate the 2 lines. The rig I've got is, well, you can see the depth of it there. It's probably, I don't know, it's only about 4 to 5 feet deep, that's all. It's not very deep. And this float, now it's not the right float, I'll be absolutely honest with you. It's a fantastic float, but it's not the right one for this job, to be fair. It's a 0.4 stubby slim. Alright, it's a carbon stem. I didn't want a carbon stem, I wanted a wire stem, to be honest. That'll give me much more stability within this wind and the tow and everything, but I just don't have any of those floats with me, and certainly not made up, so I'm compromising. Okay, so it's 0.4, and I've got all the bulk of the weight right down near the hook. As you can see, I've got 2 droppers there, and then a spread bulk just there, and it's 0.4 as you've seen. Hopefully that's going to be enough to give us decent presentation. And I've got size 14 on, and that is it. That's all I'm going to do. So I'm going to get my bait out, get some bait introduced, and I think I'm going to start on the worm line, because I just think we might get a quicker response on the worm from the prawns, and then obviously that'll give time for the prawn line to rest, and hopefully we're going to catch a few fish on that. So the bait tray, all we've got some worms. I'm not quite sure what's there, probably 1/4 kilo, might be. I don't think there's quite half in there, but I'm obviously not expecting to feed all of those. So I've got some dendras there that we can chop. We've got some casters. These have literally been in my fridge for about 2 weeks, believe it or not. So there's a little bit of bag burn on there, but I'm sure it's going to be all right. And then the all important, there we go, Tesco's cheapest. I've got to be absolutely honest with you. I don't know what kind of prawns are best for fishing. I've no idea. I haven't really spoke to anybody about it. So these were literally the cheapest ones out of the freezer at Tesco, and that's all we've got. That's all we've got. So I'm going to feed worm and castor to one side. I think I'm going to feed worm and castor. I'm going to feed that to my left. I think. So I'll just pop those casters. Not going to need many, I wouldn't imagine. I don't know if these are going to bring any carp in. I don't know. But obviously this line is just a little bit less selective. Pop some water in there. There we go. So there's some casters. And then we can pop the prawns in here. I don't know if it's best to keep them in water. I don't know if they're going to dry out or not. I've no idea. Let's pop them in there. I'm going to feed some of them. I'm going to feed them chopped. So as you can see, you see the size of some of those are really, really big. Obviously I'm fishing a size 14 hook that I could just nick into there. It's quite robust actually, so there shouldn't be a problem keeping it on the hook, but I wouldn't want to feed or fish with big lumps like that, but obviously I will try it if I need to. So just pop some water in there, keep them nice and soft, stop them drying out, and that's it. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to feed both lines at the start, but I'm going to start fishing on the left-hand worm and caster line. I'm going to feed the worm and caster line first, because that's the one we're starting on. I'm not going to wash these worms off or anything. I'm just going to keep it nice and rough and ready. I'm just going to put too many in, because obviously I'm going straight on this line. That's all I'm going to put in to start with. I've no idea what to expect. You know, like I say, it's literally what is it? It's about 4 or 5 days before Christmas. So that's telling you how late on in the year it is. And I'm not going to chop these too fine. We are obviously after decent fish. That's all I'm going to do. That's it. And then whack a few casters over the top. You see how rough and ready they are. Then we'll put a few casters over the top, not too many. That's it. That's all I'm going to kick off with. It's like I say, I'm starting on this line. And I think some of this might get affected by the tow, but it's not that deep to be fair, so I think we should be okay. So I decided I'm going to feed for no other reason than I just had to make a decision. I haven't done it for a particular reason. I'm going to feed the worm and caster to that side, and then I'm going to feed the prawn at the other side. And what I am going to do is just quickly put a few in here. As you can see, no idea how many to feed. I don't know. Now I've got a clue. I'm just going to put that many in, but I am going to chop them. I won't put them too fine, but the idea is I can fish a slightly bigger piece on the hook. Is that too many? I have no idea if that's too many or not. But let's put it in. Let's put it in. Let's find out. Obviously going to make sure they don't float. Just drop some in the edge. No, they're all sinking. That's good. It's not something I thought about. So there we go. There's a few going in there. That's all I'm going to put in to start with. Just that. So obviously I'm going to rest this line. You know, I'm not going to go straight on it, so it will have a bit of time undisturbed. And this is my right hand swim, which is in line with that platform there. Just it's in line with that platform there. That's it, done. We fed the lines. I think the pole rollers are in the positions all right. And that's it. That's all I'm going to do. So I'm going to pour myself a cup of coffee, get a piece of worm on, see if we can catch something from that left-hand line first. So I've got a size 14 hook on, and the way that I've got the depth set now is it's probably about 2 or 3 inch over depth. So I'm expecting obviously a bit of tow, so that hopefully is going to give us enough stability. So let's put I'll put half a worm on. Let's just nip that in half. Well, 3/4. It's not a very big worm, this one. Put that in there. What I'm going to do is just thread it on. So just threading it on like so that it sits like that. Let's just see what's there. There are skimmers in here. There are also, other silverfish as well, which we might be hooking. But like I say, it is only literally a few days before Christmas, so it is late on in the year. The air temperature's not bad actually. It is actually a little bit milder. It's about 10 degrees, I think it is. That's the air temperature. I haven't taken the water temperature. Let's see if there's anything there waiting for us. Already I can see that's gone. That's just gone under. Right, okay then. Well, I'm pretty sure that I was just about to say that the tow is towing quite strong to the left, and then it flew away. So I strongly suspect that that was a small silverfish. That's what I'm guessing. I don't know. It's a complete unknown today, really. That's settled now, so nothing's hit that on the way down. I don't know if the silverfish are going to be active. If they are, obviously I'll have to start and try and put bigger baits on and stuff to try and combat that. I didn't want to be too selective, not at first anyway, because obviously it's always nice to get 1 or 2 bites, but obviously we are targeting better fish, so if we've got to put a bigger bait on, like a full worm, or you know, obviously I can step up the hook size if I feel I need it. This is a 14. That's just sitting there nicely actually now. There isn't any tow. Well, if there is, that being over depth is obviously compensating, or it's helping to keep it steady. But that is really still. That's really surprised me, that, which is good. That's a bite. Got one. Yes, how about that? Well, it's not a huge fish, but interesting to see what it is. What we got? I think it's an F1. Oh well, if they're going to be active, that's going to affect things. It is, it's a little F1. Ah, there we go. Well, we've got a fish anyway. That didn't take long, did it? It's a pretty little fish. Look at that. It's got the worm there. Well, that is a pretty fish, that, isn't it? Lovely. Look, it's trying to curl up. That's when they're difficult to hold sometimes. Well, we've got a fish anyway. We're off the mark. Just pop that there. So pretty, aren't they? Immaculate. We're off the mark anyway, so it's a fish. So I'm not going to refeed this time. I'm not going to put that in the net. I've just got the net there in case we get any of those big perch, so we can get a couple of photographs of him. Well, we're not blanked anyway. We're off the mark. So I'm not going to refeed that. I could even leave that worm on, couldn't I? It's not moving though, but I'm not going to refeed it. Not just yet. Let's put a bigger worm on, shall we? So we'll put a bigger worm on, just nipping its head off a little bit there, like that. We can always try worm head, obviously. I'm just going to thread this one on the same as we did last time. But this is a much bigger piece of worm, or a bigger worm. There we go. As you can see. Let's see what that one gets. So, are the carp and F1s going to be active? That would suggest so, wouldn't it? Let's just see if we can. That'd be nice if we're getting a few bites, but obviously the ultimate, we need a perch. So if I keep catching them, if they're there, obviously I'll just keep ringing the changers, put bigger bits of worm on and stuff. Another bite then. Looks like they are active, but it's still early days, and obviously I'm going to keep the prawns, that chopped prawn, going in at that on that right hand swim. Yes. Oh, I don't know what that was. Just moved it. That was a good fish if it was hooked right. I just lifted that. The bait's not touched, but definitely pulled into something then. The only problem with moving a bait around like that, if there's any carp laying there or anything, then obviously you run the risk of foul hooking them, but that was definitely a fish, whatever it was. Just lifted it a couple of times, and then it just went. The elastic just bounced out, so it was definitely a fish down there. That lifted then. What we got here? That was a lift bite. I'm getting a little indication, which, you know, I'm not sure if there are small fish or whether they're just fish around the rig. What have we got this time? A roach this time. I think we're going for the species cup, aren't we? Yep. So yeah, there are obviously other fish active down there. but we'll persevere with it. I think what I'm going to do is, I think I'm going to refeed it with some worm, and then put a few more bits of prawn to the right, and then just persevere. I mean, you can see the size of the worm that I've got on there. So I'm going to refeed it again. Probably not put as many casters in this time, because I've got a feeling that the casters may attract the roach and silverfish. Maybe it looks like they are quite active. And then give this right hand swim. Give it about 15-20 minutes before I have a look on that. I've just switched to worm head, and first drop in we've got a skimmer, or is it a hybrid? Looks a bit hybridy to me, that one. That's just on a worm head. So it's time to have a look on that right hand swim, but the first thing I'm going to do is I want to keep that, even though we're catching the wrong species there, I want to keep that left hand swim alive. So I'm just going to chop a few worms just to keep that swim alive. I'm going to keep these that's it, that's all I'm going to chop them like that, bigger chunks. I'm not going to put any casters in, and just keep that line alive. We know we can get, well, not only bites, we can catch fish on that line, but just because there's loads of small fish there now, or the wrong species there now, doesn't mean to say it won't change. So I'll keep it alive. Now let's get a prawn on, or a piece of prawn. Let's have a look at what we've got. So we've still got a size 14 hook on. Let's take that worm off. Same rig and everything, same depth. Let's just have a look at the size of the prawn that we've got. I'm not going to put a full one on, not first cast. Just a bit concerned that that hook looks a little bit small now. So I'm just going to put the tail on, just because it is nice and tough, but it just means that there's going to be plenty of the hook showing to hopefully pull into a fish. So let's have a look then. Let's see what's if there is anything on this line. What I will do is, if there are, I mean, I have no idea if those smaller fish will eat these prawn, this bait, I don't know, but if they are, and they're still in abundance like they are on that left hand swim, then I think I'll have no other option but to fish a full prawn, and I'll probably have to, well, I'll have to step up that hook size if that's the case, and just be super selective. Yes. We've got one. Well, there was a couple of little indications, and I thought it was just moving on the bottom. There was it seemed like there was a tiny bit of tow coming back towards me, but I didn't want to hit it too early. What have we got here? First ever fish on a prawn. What is it? Is it roach hybrid? Look at that. Well, my first fish on a prawn. Oh, the hook's come out. Look at that. Well, that shows you, doesn't it? That's a lovely stamp fish if you're in a silverfish match. Look at that one. Well, first fish. It's been out there a couple of minutes. Just pop him straight back. Like I said, I'm only putting perch in the net if we get any, but my first fish on a prawn. I didn't expect it to be that. So I was with half a prawn, so I'm going to go in again with that. I'm not going to refeed it yet, but I'm going to go in with another half again, just a tail half, and just see what comes along. And if we do keep catching silverfish and stuff, then I'm going to step up that hook size and switch to a full prawn. Well, that's been out there about 4 or 5 minutes, and there's only a tiny little indication, just it slid away slowly. It looks like another silverfish. how it's actually blown the prawn actually. It's a roach. It's actually blown the bait up the line. There we go. You can see the hook bait there. But another lovely conditioned fish. Well, it's whilst it's really nice to be getting a few bites, you know, normally I'd just carry on catching them and enjoying it, but I do want to try and single out a better stamp fish, and I think already we're going to have to be much more selective. There's obviously a few fish feeding today, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to have a look back on that left hand swim, but I'm going to fish with a whole worm now. That is it for the rest of the session. I'm going to fish with a whole worm. I'm going to step up the hook size up to a size 12 so I can fish with a full dendra, and then on my right hand swim I'm actually going to feed that again, but I'm going to feed whole prawn. So the prawn as you see it, unchopped, I'm going to feed them just the full pieces, and obviously with that size 12 hook on I can fish with a full prawn next time I have a go on that. I'm just going to try and be really selective and see if we can catch a better stamp fish. So this left down swim it's had a good 20 minutes, half an hour since I've been on it, since I went on it. Now I've got that size 12 hook on. Just going to hook it right through the head of the worm. There we go. Chunkier bait. Let's see if we can single out better stamp fish now. I've cupped in 12. I actually counted them out. No, I didn't. It was 10. I counted out 10 whole prawns that I've cupped in on that right hand swim. That was about 2 or 3 minutes ago. So I'm going to give that about 15 minutes, 20 minutes maybe, before I have a look on that. Yes. Well, it's not on a massive worm, but it is a whole worm. I've had a couple of little indications on it. Let's see what this one is. Look at the size of that one. Well, I put a bigger bait on and caught a smaller fish. Great sport. Look at the size of that worm there that one swallowed. Hey, what we got? What's that? Oh, that's a better fish. That's a slower fish, that one. Let's see what this is. It's just had that first run. It's slowed right down now. That wind's getting stronger. I'm feeling that on the pole. This is a much better fish. Look at that beauty. Well, we've got a better stamp fish. We've got a bigger bait on. Better stamp fish. It's not a perch, but it's nice to have that elastic pulled out. Yeah, that was nice on the strike. You just feel something solid on the end, and then that elastic stretches out. Good thing about it is you don't know what you're going to be, what we're going to be hooking on these baits. That's a nice fish. It's not very warm, I'll be honest with you. It's very cold. Lovely fish. Oh, he's still lively, but oh, he's freezing. I'm not surprised. Let's pop him back. Oh, I've just picked out the biggest worm I've got in the pot. I've got to admit, I haven't had a sign for about 5 minutes. That just flew away, no warning. And it's another one of our golden friends. Hook's come out. I think it's time to have a go with a whole prawn on that right hand swim. Let's select a nice big prawn. There we go. Look at that. Let's see if we can catch anything on that. Looks much better with that size 12 hook. Matched much better. It's about 20 minutes now since I fed this line. Put 10 whole prawn down there. So it's been 20 minutes. Let's see what happens. We've hooked something. Now, what's this? The whole prawn, it was a bite, that last one. And that wasn't in long either, was it? It's not juddering around much. Come on, what is it? Is it a bream? Well, one of the quickest bites we've had all day. And that was on a whole prawn. How has that even got that in its mouth? How did that prawn even get in there? Look at that. It just shows you, doesn't it? Well, whole prawn is the way to go. Well, I've gone back out there again with a whole prawn on. This feels another good fish. Quite a bit of tow on it now for this wind, so there's a little bit of movement, but I'm just managing to hold it still. I'm obviously fishing over depth as well. Is it another bream? It is. Look at that. Well, it's not a bad stamp, is it? Especially with that nice big hook on as well. That one. Well, that wind's getting much stronger now. I'm really struggling to present the rig properly with the tow and the gusts of wind. We've hooked another good fish here, as you can see. Again on a full prawn. Interesting to see what it is. Is it a carp or an F1? Another good net fish. There we go. Well, so that presentation's really difficult now, I've got to admit. I don't really want to go getting other rigs out and stuff. Bit of a disgorger job that one, I think. Oh no. There we go. Well, the quest for a personal best perch has beaten me, unfortunately, but I've thoroughly enjoyed fishing with some new baits. The next time I'm here at this lake is when it's actually being netted. In a few days' time, the fishery team will be coming here to net this lake to take the fish out, and even the fishery owner admits that he's not quite sure what's in this lake, and I will be here to film it for you. So hopefully that's something that you're going to enjoy. It's been a really enjoyable winter's day. I hope you've enjoyed it, and I look forward to seeing you next time.